Hello, hello. It is your favorite Mexican abroad, well, Mexican American, Mexicana con leche, if you want to be specific, Vanessa MW. Today I am dialing in from London, UK. I am currently working remotely over here, living my best life. It has been a long pandemic quarantine. I was trapped in my home for 10 days because they lost my COVID test. But we're going to be talking about how to buy a house abroad because after being trapped in one for 10 days, it's pretty critical that you find the right location, the right home with the right amenities, and of course, it needs to be within your budget. I know that homes abroad sounds like really fancy, like, oh, you need to be spending a couple million or something. No, that's not how that works. Today, we're talking to an incredible woman who relocated herself from her home country to Portugal by herself with two children. She then bought her own land and then is now building her own house. And she helps expats come to Portugal and buy their own properties as well. So we're just waiting for her to hop into the live. I'm going to wave at some people now. But if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them into the comment section, not the question section, because when you have your phone in the dark mode, I actually can't see those questions, unfortunately. Let me know where you're dialing in from as well as we wait for her to hop on into the live. There we go. Here she comes. Here we go. I'm so excited. I'm actually buying a house next year in Deutschland. So this is, oh, there she is. Hello.
Hello, hello, Vanessa.
Hi. Where are you dialing in from today?
So I'm from Cascais, from my home today.
Oh, amazing. And where is that in Portugal, just for someone who doesn't know
We
Portugal that well?
25 minutes driving from Lisbon. It's a small
Mhm.
town at the coast. So from the houses you see beautiful ocean.
Oh man. Is this the house that you built for yourself
Oh,
and your
the one I own now, but the house I'm gonna build, it's gonna be about 40 minutes out from Lisbon. So it's really like a country house on top of the hill.
I love it. And it's so amazing that you built all of this like career and homes for yourself and your children. But wait. Before I get ahead of myself and your glorious life, could you please introduce yourself, where you're from, where you currently are, and what you do today?
Yeah, so I'm born in Riga, Latvia, so it's in Northern Europe. And 6 years ago, I had a chance to totally change my life. And I asked my children, "Shall we make a move? Shall we move abroad?" And both of them said, "Yes, mom, let's go for an adventure." So 6 years ago, I packed 6 suitcases, took my two kids, and just bought one-way ticket and moved to Portugal. And I had really very, very little Portuguese knowledge, but I believed I had the dream that I want to live in a different country. I want to be in a warm country, and I loved Portugal. And for me, it was like a driving force that it's my dream. I have to follow my dream, and in one way or in another, it will work out. And my oldest son said, "Mom, you are like a real example to me that things can happen, you know." And for me, that's I kind of, when he said it to me, he had to write actually an essay at school. And when I read it, my eyes were full of tears because I thought I'm doing it because first it's, that's what parents do. They work, they do things. Sometimes they fail, but we try our
Mm,
best. But that I could be like his role model for me,
mm,
well, my heart was like really full of love. So, and we made it after 6 years. Portugal, my home,
mm.
and all learned the language, and it's great. Now I'm saying that I'm like an official Portugal ambassador. Everywhere I go, I just say how beautiful and how lovely this country is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just so much to unpack with your story. And your story is actually in my Move Abroad masterclass now. We recorded a whole session about how to move abroad with buying a house and how to relocate your life there. So when we kick off the July cohort of our newest students, get excited to experience that and to find out more specific details about how to buy a house abroad. So before I get really mushy and start asking you about your children and that whole story, let's start with the basics. First of all, what do you do professionally? Just remind everyone.
Yeah, so professionally, I'm a real estate work with a multinational company called Chanel. So it's all around the world. It's a company with 250 years history in market. So I'm apartment, and as you mentioned in the beginning, I have expats and national clients find their dream homes here in Portugal.
And I think what's so wonderful about your business proposition as well is it's not just for like super wealthy expats coming from like Dubai, China, Russia. It's a lot of very normal families, right, that you help relocate.
Of course, because what happens is often people come here just for holidays, and then they think, actually, I might buy something here for maybe even in the beginning as a holiday home to share with my friends and family. Some maybe see opportunities, and something like me, okay, if there is a chance, let's just relocate, because from here it's so easy to move around. We are so well connected with Europe, with United States, and it's just basically 2.5 hours and you are in another country.
That's amazing. And I love doing that as well. From Germany, you can drive to Poland, you can drive to France. It truly changes your experience if you leave someplace so open like America, where it takes 8 hours to drive from LA to San Francisco. And then all of a sudden you drive to new countries while you're out here, right?
Amazing.
So let's start with the beginning process of how you welcome your clients in. So say I'm looking for a house to buy in Faro. What would be your first step to proceeding with me?
Yeah, so the first thing I usually start with understanding clients' lifestyle, because some clients might think they have heard maybe some cities and they think, I think I want to be here, or I have seen some pictures, or maybe have friends and family there. But I usually ask, describe me your lifestyle, what you like to do, how you spend your winters, your summers. Do you like to go out? Are you more nature person, beach person, city person? And based on that, I can also advise on best locations, right? Because as you may know, in Portugal, like one of hotspots is Algarve, because that's very popular among clients from Great Ireland and also from Northern Europe, because of the lifestyle, proximity to beaches. It's always a little bit warmer, but it also has a little bit seasonality. So in summer it's super crowded, it's also more hot. In winter it's more quieter, right? So it's very important to understand what's the lifestyle. So when you are more in a central part, like where Lisbon is, so around in central part you have, as life is happening all year round, because people live here, they work, it's very easy to travel around, and you have literally every day, every weekend, you can find some things to do. And then Porto is another hotspot, especially in recent years, because Porto has changed a lot. It also has its own airport, and it attracts a lot of young people, because there are many opening up. And of course, it's less expensive than Lisbon. And still it's like 2.5 hour driving from Lisbon, so it's not that far. However, the lifestyle is a little bit different, and in winter it is a little bit cooler. You get a bit more stronger winds, it may rain a little bit more. So based on that, I think the best is to understand the lifestyle, and then of course budget as well, because sometimes we can read articles saying that everything is super cheap, or the way around, that everything is very expensive. So I think it's really important to understand your expectations and how much you would be ideally ready to invest, and what would be your maximum. And are you considering maybe take a mortgage to buy or dream home, because it's also an option to take a mortgage and buy maybe a bigger house, a better house, or maybe closer to your ideal location.
Yeah, I think that's a great option that not many foreigners consider, because there are such confusing laws when it comes to if I can get a mortgage, is there a residency? We'll unpick this a little bit, but we had a question about websites that people could look at that you would recommend to get an idea of what's in the market. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, so one of the most popular websites recently, and it's one of the biggest one, it's called Idealista. And so big agencies like JLL, for example, also we export our listings there. And the good thing with Idealista is that you can also choose languages. So it's Portuguese, Italian, French, Spanish, because it's growing a lot, and so you can have a general information. And of course, all big agencies have their own websites. And sometimes what happens with big portals is that not always the information is updated, because sometimes because still of technology, it can be that in a general portal, a property appears as available, but maybe in reality not. So, but usually in Idealista, for example, you can check also the reference, how long time the property has been in the market. So it kind of gives you an idea. And other websites that is popular here, it's called Imo Virtual. You can also go there to see, but I think Idealista now is one of the most popular. But actually, most of clients, how they get to me and to us is either through referrals, or they just Google, buying a house or maybe locations. And then the biggest companies with the largest databases always appear on top. And here, as you may know, English is widely spoken. That's why we have around 1 million expats living in Portugal among and residents together. So I think it's a good number, and it means that Portugal is really, really friendly country, and many expats actually want to be here, and they can see themselves living in Portugal.
Was there any websites that you would avoid or are known to be scammy or anything like that?
No, I can't say that you should avoid. There are also like big, like more international, like maybe James Editions. That's, I think, clients from Great Britain, they are really aware of that website. There are like Move Abroad. So usually those big sites, they are well updated. You have very, how you say, well organized information. And usually they are the ones here in your search anyway. So I can't give any bad examples.
Okay, that's good to know. I know in Germany we have scams for renting houses where people will post a picture of a beautiful house or apartment, and then once you get to the viewing, they're like, "Oh, something bad happened to the apartment. We can't show you that one, but here's this other one." And actually, that's very common in London as well.
Well, here it can happen that sometimes some agencies use that strategy, especially if they have a good listing, they keep the listing active in order to attract new potential clients, and then they say, this property is not available anymore, but I can have other options. I don't think it's like a scam, it's maybe just the strategy of them, but big agencies will never do that, because we value our clients' time. We want to provide the best service, and those updates happen often. And but it could happen maybe with some individual brokers, or maybe smaller agencies that maybe the system is not working so well. I would say for rentals, it's the safest would be just to work with an agent, with a broker, because then he will know for sure, is it available, how long, what are the conditions, and no language barriers, because most of consultants, speak several languages. Like, for example, me myself, okay, I speak Latvian as well. It doesn't help much here. There are around 400 Latvians here, but I also speak Russian, I speak English, I speak also Portuguese, and I speak some Italian. So I definitely can help. And then I have colleagues who speak French and German. So, so even if maybe some clients doesn't speak so well English, we always can find somebody who can help. And in bigger agencies, we always check all the documents. So client is actually interested to rent. We have all documentation ready. We can draft, let's say, rental contracts in I don't know, in 24, 48 hours, and the part is ready to be used. So I think with bigger agencies, you have more trust, because it's more transparency, is ethics. But you know, it's not necessarily. It can also be a private individual who does that. You know, it's case to case.
Yeah,
but
I think that just like in any country.
Yeah, I think especially when you do the first time, when you're not really sure, I think it's better to speak with a professional, because then you kind of feel that, you know, somebody guides you and explains how things work, what are the rules, what are the conditions. And important thing here to know is that no matter if client is buying or renting, the fees are always paid by the owner. So
important tip.
To, I don't know, pay for something, it's not common. It's really, really rare. Maybe if you look for something super specific, and then you need to kind of motivate the broker to find something specific. But even then, for example, in our company, it never happens. So somebody asks for a fee, it's kind of like, it shouldn't be like that. So then it's better for somebody else.
Absolutely. And we have some questions about how we move into the new wonderful house that we're getting. So let's actually take a step backwards first before we get into that question. When it comes to mortgages, do you find that your clients are getting mortgages back in their home countries, or are they taking mortgages in Portugal? And what are the difference between the two?
Yeah, so it really depends. For example, imagine if client can also, of course, take a mortgage in their home country if they have properties, or maybe they have the better history with their bank, or also take a mortgage. So, for example, if client is outside EU, European Union, and wants to buy a property for golden visa purposes, so then the client needs to have either 350,000 euros or 500,000 euros, his own money, and above he can finance here in Portugal, or doesn't want to do that, he can. The client can also take the mortgage in that other country and just the transfer money here, right? But he can, let's say, choose a property for 600, for let's say 500, and then finance those 500,000 euros here. So that's the difference. But Portuguese banks are financing foreigners. There are no restrictions. I have had clients from China, from Hong Kong, from United States, from Europe, and they have got mortgages. We with a mortgage company, and it's like a one-stop shop company basically. So we, as soon we have a client interested in mortgage, we introduce with the company, and they actually gather all the data from a client and send to all the banks in Portugal that are in the network, and they best offer for the client. So basically, all the work for the client, and I think that's really great, because then client saves a lot of time, because they don't need to call to 5 different banks. It's a mortgage broker who will do it for a client. So that's a great service we offer.
That's amazing, and that takes so much stress out of it, because trying to get the best mortgage while you're in a different country, maybe like trying to get a mortgage in a country where you don't speak the local language, so stressful. When it comes to putting a deposit on a house, is there a general number that you would recommend in terms of percentage?
So here it depends. Either client is buying, let's say, used house, a house that is already built and ready to use, or it's a new development. So if it's a house that is already built, ready to use, so usually we have 2 steps. It's 20% in average that you do, that you pay on signing of promissory sales and purchase contract. That's like a first step where seller and buyer agrees on all terms and conditions. That, for example, the deed will be done either, I don't know, in 2 or 3 months. Maybe something must be, I don't know, fixed. Maybe it's conditioned to bank mortgages. It's basically the contract that says on which conditions, the house will be sold and bought, right? And then usually after 2 or 3 months, in some cases, I don't know, in 20 days, in some cases, in longer period of time, then you do the deed, and on the deed date, you get the keys. The deed is done at notary. Notary makes sure that the property is clean from debt, that there are no other problems, and then you do the final payment, usually a bank check. So it's not a transfer. You actually deliver the check to the seller. You receive the keys, and you can go and live in your apartment. So you just need to connect electricity and water. And so if it's a new development, then first step is always choosing the right property. Then you 10 or 15,000 euro reservation deposit, and the deposit is for 2 weeks to give time for the buyer and buyer's lawyer to analyze, to do legal due diligence, to make sure that, you know, all the licenses are there, that the buyer is happy with the conditions. And then it's a 20%, in average 20% on a signing promissory contract. And then as the construction goes on, there will be 2 or 3 more payments in the middle. And on the day when the development is concluded, then buyer pays the last payment that usually is 50 or 60 or 40%. Then it depends. So these are the small differences, but usually it's like 20% is a first payment.
Okay, so a 20% deposit. Say I'm an American coming to Portugal and I don't have residency in Portugal. How does this process start if I want to buy a house in Portugal?
So so if you are like you just gave an example, if you are from United States, so you are not a resident here, and you want to buy a house and you want to apply for golden visa, so then you would need to choose a property that qualifies for golden visa. Either it starts from 280,000 euros, the first minimum investment, but that's more in inland of Portugal and usually more rural areas. We call it low density population areas, and it's not a very popular choice unless somebody really likes to live in the countryside. Most popular decision is either 300 euros investment or 500 and plus. So then the first step is to choose these qualities. Either it's ready to use or still under construction. Then the client needs to open a bank account to get the fiscal number here. Usually help with that, and we always advise to speak with a local lawyer, especially now during COVID. Lawyers have their ways how they can get it for client based on money. And then once the house is chosen, then they make sure that all the documents are everybody is happy with that legal part, and they do the transfer, either 350,000 euros or 500,000 euros. The 20% would be paid directly to the developer. Usually the other part to reach 500 or is paid to the escrow account. And when the promissory contract is signed and clearly stated that this money will be paid and is secured for that apartment, the lawyer can start application process for golden visa. Right. And then it's a legal part, and that can also, everything can be done remotely. If the buyer has confidence in broker, in consultant who presents, and is confident with the lawyer, because that's how most of sales are happening these days because of restrictions. You know, we sell houses on over phone and over virtual viewings. You know, that's our daily life. And then client actually needs to come to Portugal only when they need to do the fingerprints and by reading. But that would be maybe around 6 months after the promissory contract is signed.
And what about for people who are coming over on like a D7 or a work visa? Can you still purchase a house if you're not on a golden visa?
Yeah, so for D7, actually, if you have a D7 visa, you don't necessarily need to buy a house. You can also rent a house. You just need to start the process, for example, in United States to apply for the visa to show that you have, enough income. And then with that visa, when you come to Portugal, then also, it's good to always have a local lawyer who make sure that you do everything in the right order to have surprises. But if you have D7 visa, you don't necessarily need to buy a house. But that there are no restriction. If from any country you can buy a house if you just want to use for holidays and so. But if somebody wants to get a residency here, then for European Union citizens of European unions, they can just rent a house, rent. Don't need necessarily buy, but outside EU, then usually they do the so-called golden visa investment, and based on that they get the residency. And on point of that, I would like to mention that the golden visa, as we know, will end by this year. So new criteria, and so in Lisbon and Porto, not be possible to invest in residential properties after end of this year. There will be investment in commercial properties, and more investment will be focused more in land. You can still will be able to invest in so-called private equity funds. That's kind of risk capital funds, but it's a different type of investment. So if somebody is willing to obtain golden visa on current conditions, I would advise to actually
get that started
now, and not to delay till the end of the year, because it might be very busy, and then it can create confusion, and we don't want that.
And just to clarify real quick, the golden visa is not the only way to buy a house in Portugal and move your life there. You can come on a work visa, you can come on a student visa, and then start to integrate and build a normal life for yourself, right?
Yeah, of course, as I said, everybody can buy a house here, but then it depends also what are the long-term plans, Somebody to stay here just maybe for holidays or 3 days, up to 90 days, but if somebody wants to be more permanent, or maybe they are planning to have citizenship, to obtain citizenship later after 5 years, then they will use a different strategy. And it affects what is the tax situation, because as you have maybe knows that we also have non-habitual tax regime, and that's very interesting scheme how let's say qualified professionals by their fiscal residence here can pay a flat tax rate if they're working, or if they are retired and from specific countries, they pay zero tax on their private pensions. So there are different things to look at, and we always advise to speak to a tax advisor to see which scheme, which model works best for a client. And then of course we do our real estate part. We do rentals, we sell houses, apartments, plots as well.
Yeah.
At the beginning, some can even buy a small shop, or maybe start to run a business here. So very flexible here. To establish a company, it's super easy. You can do it like in 24 hours.
Yeah, flexible is so wonderful, and open to people coming in, starting businesses, and just building the economy together. We're actually coming to the end of our live, but I really want to talk about your personal experience of buying a plot of land and building your house for you and your family. And before you get into that, real quick caveat. For my Move Abroad Masterclass, we're running through end to end the process of how to relocate abroad. I have Portuguese specific resources, and we've actually recorded a video about specifics on mortgages, interest rates, all those specific details in the masterclass. So if you want that information, you should probably go there. So let's talk about your incredible adventure of buying a plot of land and building your house for your family. So you bought that plot of land by yourself, right?
Oh, yes. And it was very interesting because, as I mentioned, I live now in Cascais. I work mainly in Lisbon. So, and I have an apartment with a nice balcony, with a little bit of sea view. Everything like to go to beach is like 10 minutes maybe. So very nice area. But then I thought, this pandemic and, being kind of in the house, I kind of felt I want a little bit more space. I want more space for my children, maybe to have a puppy in future. And I thought, another lockdown comes, I definitely want to have more space, to have a freedom to go out, to do a barbecue, to maybe have a little swim and to hear birds and not to be so much worried, about restrictions. And so I was looking for opportunities, and I knew that I want to be in the countryside, but still relatively close to the city because I'm still very active and I like to move around. I meet a lot of people. So it definitely had to be with a good infrastructure. And then I thought, okay, let's just go for it. Let's just buy a plot of land. And I was lucky enough to find a really, really great deal. So my plot is big enough to build a house and to have a swimming pool and even to have a small garden and to have our own water well and to be kind of independent. You can use solar panels because in Portugal, around 300 days of sun for sure will generate enough worms to actually heat the house and water. And so that's my ambition because I love Portugal and my plans are to be here. And so now I'm super busy with looking for the different house projects, doing my studies. And I will also, once I'm a bit closer to the stage that it's actually construction starts, I will post also in Instagram. So after, maybe I can inspire else and to show that it's possible. And if you can't find a dream house or think it's too expensive, you can always buy your own house. You can also build your own house. Yeah.
Yeah. On your own plot of land. I think that's so cool. I also want to do this. So I'm just going to manipulate my husband to make this work out. Well, we are at the end of our live. I'm going to have you back once your house starts getting built, because I would love to talk about picking a construction company in a foreign country in a language that's not your native one. Like, that's a whole different live. And
for sure.
We appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your incredible story. And as you saw, if you are a single woman with a family or a career or just ambitions to go create a life for yourself, you can do that. You can absolutely do that.
Exactly. You just have to believe it and you just have to go for it. And as I love to inspire others when somebody's in doubt, I don't know the language, maybe I had kids, I moved abroad. Wasn't I scared? I was, but I also
yeah, you nailed it.
Now when I look back, I think that was one of the best decisions I made.
Amazing. So where can everyone find you, and do you have anything coming up that you would like everyone to know about?
Yeah, everybody can find me up on Instagram. I love to post interesting things, news, what we have. I show some houses, what we are selling, what we are listing. Of course, I like to share tips from my own experience, because I think that's how we add most of value. Because if I look at my eyes, of course, showing what's happening in the market, and I'm always happy to share my experience and to answer all the questions, and welcome everybody here in.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope to see everyone at my How to Find a Job Abroad workshop this Saturday. It is filling up quickly, and I will see you on the internet real soon, because I'm so curious about this house building. No problem. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.